Alright, today, this tutorial, we are going to finally be making that top that I've been showing. And I've got a piece of paper back here so that I can show you guys the actual stitch pretty well. So this right here is what we're going to be repeating. This is a 3-row repeat to do this stitch pattern. And you're going to really love the ease of the design on this particular top, because we're going to be starting out working in a long foundation oval. And then we're going to work the top section of our top. And the way that I've designed this is the chest and sleeve. I know it's kind of hard to see all of it in one, so let me try to back up my camera a little bit. We're going to be working the sleeve portion and the chest area all at the same time, creating one big long rectangle to start off. And then we're going to be moving in. On our sides, we're going to work the front and back, and then you'll be able to actually try it on at that part, at that point. We're going to add a little section here so we have a neck opening, head hole is what I like to call it. And then we're going to move to the body section where we will be coming in from our work. So we're just going to be joining our yarn back on and working a panel for the front and a panel for the back, and then you'll just need to join those on the side. We're going to be leaving a slit on the side. You can of course just sew all the way down, but this is going to be a very easy top to create for anyone, and you can make adjustments for your own size. Everybody's body is very different. Down in the description, you're going to find all the information that you need. Guideline wise, I'm going to tell you the counts that you need to use for the various sizes. This is worked in the Brand Mandala Tweed Stripes. This is color Wishbone that you're seeing right here. I am going to be working in a plain old Karen 1 pound for the tutorial so that you guys can see the stitches to keep it like, I know that the busyness of this yarn might make it a little hard to see on camera. So I'm just going to use some Karen 1 pound, and that particular color is, just for anyone who's interested, peaches or peach. So I'm going to use this yarn for the tutorial, but you can use any size 4 worsted weight yarn. The Mandala Tweed Stripes is a size 4 worsted weight yarn, and it's machine wash and machine dry, so it's very easy care. So that's one of the reasons why I love it, besides the fact of the beautiful color. But you can use any size 4, and I've also given additional information down in the description if you want to use a size 3 yarn for your project. So I've got your substituting yarn information, the yarn that I've used, and all the hook size information and counts and all that is always down in my description. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and move my camera down into a lower position. Alright, so you're going to refer down to the description for the number of foundation ovals you need to create and the hook size that you're going to use and all that. But these are done in multiples of 3 plus 1 at the end, just for anyone who is going to customize your size. That information is also provided down in the description. So I'm going to go ahead and put a slip knot on my hook, and I'm going to tighten that down. And now we're going to chain 4. So you're just going to wrap your yarn around your hook, and you're going to pull through. It's 1 chain. Now we're going to wrap again and pull through again. That's 2 chains. 3 and 4. So chain 4. Now we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook twice, doing a triple crochet, and we're going to come down into this very first chain that we created. We're going to make sure we go under that V. And we're going to grab our yarn and pull up a loop. Now we're going to grab our yarn again, and we're going to pull through 2. We're going to grab our yarn again and pull through 2. Grab our yarn again and pull through 2. And I don't like to have a really tight tension on these. I like to kind of keep it loose so they can stretch and move around, because this is a shirt after all. We don't want to feel like we're in like a vice grip, especially that this is around our neck area and shoulders. So now we're going to continue to chain up 4, and this is our first foundation oval that we've created. So we're going to chain 4 again. 2, 3 and 4. And now we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook twice. And now we're going to come down here and we're going to go into that first chain we created. And if you take a look, it's directly above where we joined our last one. So you're not like coming into this foundation oval and joining again, you're right above it. And hopefully from these different angles you guys can see. So now we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to grab our yarn and pull up a loop. We're going to grab our yarn and pull through 2. Grab our yarn and pull through 2. Grab our yarn and pull through 2. So now let's do that one more time together. So we're going to chain up 4. So I'm chaining 1 and I'm going to go ahead and pinch there. That way, for those of you who are having trouble identifying where to come back to, you've pinched it. So I'm going to chain up. This is my 3rd chain and 4th. So chain up 4. I'm going to wrap my yarn twice around my hook. Now I'm going to come down here to where I was pinching. I'm going to go into that stitch, working underneath both of those loops. I'm going to grab and pull up a loop. Now I'm going to grab and pull through 2. Grab and pull through 2. Grab and pull through 2. So from here you can go ahead and pause the video and you're going to continue to work the number of foundation ovals you need for your size, and then we will meet back up when you are ready to move on to row 1. Alright, so we're back and we've got our foundation oval chain ready to go, and so we've done multiples of 3 and it's plus 2 at the end to give you the correct count to do this project, this particular stitch pattern. And I will correct that on screen earlier in the video where I misspoke. But I've got a chain for myself. I've done multiples of 3, obviously, but I've got a total count on my foundation ovals of 11 for this one. So I've done 11 foundation ovals for my particular little swatch that I'm working up with you guys. So we're going to go ahead and get started. You, of course, are going to refer down to that description for the total number of foundation ovals that you need to create for your size. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're still joined on down here, and we are going to go ahead and do a slip stitch into this first foundation oval. So to do that slip stitch, you just go ahead and insert your hook directly into that foundation oval coming out on the back side. And then you are going to grab your yarn and pull up a loop. And then you're going to keep that loop still and just pull it on through the loop that was on your hook. And now we've done a slip stitch. So we're going to get started. We're going to chain up 3, and that's going to count as our first double crochet. So we're going to grab our yarn, pull up a loop, pull up a loop, and pull up a loop. So we're going to chain 3. Now we're going to wrap our yarn and we're going to go into this foundation oval, and we're going to do 2 more double crochets right here in that same foundation oval. So we're in that foundation oval, pulling up a loop. We're going to grab our yarn and pull through 2. Grab our yarn and pull through 2. So that's our second double crochet, because this chain 3 is counting as our first. Now we're going to do that one more time into the same foundation oval. Grab our yarn, pull up that loop, grab and pull through 2, grab and pull through 2. So now we're starting our row with 3 double crochets. That's also how we're going to end each of these rows on this particular, on the row 1. So we've got these 3 double crochets. So now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And we're going to jump over here to our next foundation oval. And you just want to make sure that you keep your foundation oval nice and flat. You don't want to twist it. You don't want to twist it and be working like this. It'll naturally lay in the direction that it needs to. And you just need to make sure you don't twist it and start working this way, because it'll kind of make your project kind of wonky. So we're going to go here into this very next foundation oval, and we're going to do 3 single crochets. So we're going to go into this next foundation oval, work directly into that oval, working around that chain essentially, and we're going to do 1 single crochet. Now in that same one, we're going to do our second single crochet. And now we're going to do our third single crochet. Now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And we're going to go ahead and go into this very next foundation oval. And for the rest of this row, we're going to be working 5 double crochets into that foundation oval. So there's 1, here's 2, 3, number 4, and number 5. All right, and that is the end of the repeat. So we're going to go ahead and do that repeat one more time together. Our repeat begins with the chain 2. Then we do 3 single crochets, chain 2, and then we do 5 double crochets. So we're going to do that all together again. So here our repeat begins again. We're going to chain 2. We're going to jump over here into this next foundation oval, making sure we don't twist it. And we're going to do 3 single crochets into that, all into that one foundation oval. There's 2, and here is 3. Now we're going to chain 2 again, 1 and 2. And we're going to jump over here to this next foundation oval, and we're going to do 5 double crochets. So there's 1. Here's 2. Here's 3. Pull out a little more yarn. Number 4. And number 5, all into that one foundation oval. And that ends your repeat. So you're going to go ahead and pause here, and we're going to meet back up at the end of your row, and we're going to work in the very last foundation oval in your row. We're going to do that together. So you can go ahead and pause, and we'll meet back up when you're finished with your row. All right, so you are meeting back up with me. You are at the end of your row. You can already have your chain 2 on your hook. And we're going to work right here into this very last foundation oval. We're going to do a total of 3 double crochets into that very last foundation oval. But I'm going to show you guys how I like to anchor down that last one. That's why I wanted to do it together. So here's my second double crochet into that last foundation oval. And then here is my third. And what I like to do is I like to go into one of these stitches here at the end of the row. I tend to go directly into this one right here at the end, and I just like to anchor it there because we're slip stitched in at the beginning, so it's that first stitch is anchored over kind of tightly to the one side. So that's how I like to do that. So now we're going to go ahead and move up to row 2, and remember this is just a 3-row repeat on this pattern, and the only chains you're going to be doing are all going to be chain 2s. So it's very easy to remember. So we're going to go ahead and move up to row 2 by chaining 3. So 1, 2, and 3. So all of these rows like this begin, these first 2 rows begin with the chain 3. And now we're going to work a double crochet right here into this very next stitch. That chain 3 is covering this very first stitch here in the row. So we're going to do a double crochet into the very next stitch. Go right in there and do a double crochet. And then right here in this last stitch in this section, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So here's 1, oops, and here's 2. We're going to go right back down in that same exact stitch and do our second double crochet. So there's 2. And I'm going to chain 2. That's going to begin our repeat for this row. So I've chained 2. And now I'm going to come here. We're at the single crochets. So we've got 1, 2, 3 single crochets. We're going to go here in the center. So in that second one, right there into the center, and we're going to do a single crochet. Now we're going to chain 2. 1 and 2, and we're going to work in these 5 double crochets right here. So in this very first double crochet, we're going to put 2 double crochets. So I'm going right there into the top of that stitch. I'm going to pull up my loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, finish out the first double crochet. Now I'm going to go directly back into that same exact stitch, same one, and do another double crochet. And now over the next 3 stitches, I'm just going to place 1 double crochet in each. So right here in the very next stitch, I'm doing 1 double crochet. Right here into the very next stitch, I'm doing 1 double crochet. Right here in the very next stitch, I'm doing 1 double crochet. Now we've got this last stitch in this section to work into, and we're going to place 2 double crochets directly into the top of that stitch. There's my first one, and here's my second. And that ends our repeat for this row. We've taken these 5 double crochets and turned them into 7 double crochets because we've worked 2 double crochets in the first and last stitches of that section. So now we're going to do that repeat together one more time. This is what your work is looking like. So we're going to begin our repeat again with chain 2. And now we're going to go here into this section of 3 single crochets, and we're going to work right there in that center one. And do a single crochet right into the top of it. Now we're going to chain 2 again. And we're going to come over here to our 5 double crochets, and we're going to work right here in the very first one. We're going to work 2 double crochets right there into that first stitch. There's 1. I'm going to go back down into that same first stitch and do number 2. Now I'm going to do a double crochet in the next stitch, a double crochet here in this next stitch, and a double crochet here in this next stitch. Pull out some more yarn. All right, now I have one more stitch right here, and I'm going to work 2 double crochets into that very last stitch in this section. And that ends my repeat. So you can go ahead and pause here, and then we will of course meet back up at the very end of your row, and we're going to work these last 3 double crochets together. All right, so we're back. We're here at the end of row 2, and we're going to go ahead and work this row together. So we're going to have our chain 2 already on our hook, and we're going to jump over here to this very first stitch. So we're doing half of a pattern. So you're going to do 2 double crochets into this very first stitch. So there's 1, and here is 2. Now we're going to do 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches. So 1 in each. So there's 1. And then we're actually at our chain here at the end of the row. So we're going to count up 1, 2, 3, and we're going to go into the top of that 3rd stitch, and that's where we're going to place our last double crochet for this row. Now this is what your work is looking like, and it's not looking like a whole lot of anything probably, but it's going to shape up. It's going to be very, very pretty. And we're going to go ahead and move on to row 3. And I'm going to do a few of these with you to show you how you begin and end. Those are the main things on patterns, you know, is the beginning and ending. All the center is pretty much the same most of the time when you're working something, especially the patterns I pick. But how you begin and end those rows can change a little bit. So we're going to do a few of these together to get you guys fully incorporated and used to this pattern. So we're going to go ahead and start row 3, and remember 3 row repeat, so you're about to see what your pattern is going to look like. So this is the first time we're going to be chaining up 5 in order to start our row. So you're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're going to turn our work. So now in this very next stitch, we're going to be working our first puff. So we are not going to work in this very first one in the row because that chain 5 coming out of it counts as a double crochet, chain 2. All right, so now here in the very next stitch, we're going to go into that and we're going to wrap our yarn. Let me back up a little bit. You're going to wrap your yarn around your hook like you're going to do a double crochet, but we're not. So you're going to wrap your yarn around your hook. We're going to go here into the very next stitch. Let me pull these apart so you guys can see. We've got 4 stitches right here. Going into that second one. And we're going to grab our yarn and pull up a loop. And we're going to hold it. And you can kind of use that chain right here to kind of hold your tension. Keep everything scooted back. I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook again. And I'm going to go back down into that same exact stitch. I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to pull up a loop. Try to get the same height that we already had for the other one. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to wrap my yarn. I'm going to go back down that same exact stitch. I'm going to pull up a loop and I'm going to pull that height up. I'm going to hold it. So now I've got, if you take a look, got, not counting this chain that's already on my hook, I've got 6 loops. So with this, chain that we already had, the working loop that's on the hook, I've got 7 loops on my hook when I look at it like that. So now I'm going to grab my yarn. I'm going to turn my hook down towards my project. So you see, I don't want to try to come through like this because I'm just going to grab everything. So I'm going to turn down and I'm going to pull through nice and gently all those loops that were on my hook, but I'm leaving this working loop right here. Leaving that one. Now I've got 2 loops left on my hook. I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to pull through those last 2 loops. And now you've just completed that little puff. So now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And we are going to skip this very next stitch and we're going to come right here into this one, the last one in this section. We're going to wrap our yarn around our hook. We're going to insert into this stitch. We're going to grab our yarn and pull up a loop nice and tall. We're going to wrap our yarn again. We're going to come back down into that same exact stitch. Grab our yarn again and pull up a loop. So I'm just rocking my hook backwards when I'm wanting to pull it up nice and tall. Going to wrap again. It's the 3rd time, so you do that a total of 3 times. Going to grab and pull up, and I'm just rocking backward with my hook, just bringing it in backward motion. And now I'm going to check. I'm going to have these 6 loops I just pulled up, plus that original right here. And I like to keep it scooted back so I don't accidentally grab and go into it. So I'm going to grab my yarn again, turn my hook down towards my project, and I'm going to nice and gently pull through. You don't have to pull hard or anything like that. Now I've got these last 2 loops left on my hook. I'm going to grab and pull through those last 2 loops. And that is what your work is going to look like right there. So you've completed out this pattern basically. So now our repeat's going to begin for this row. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And this time we are skipping over this chain 2, single crochet, chain 2. So we're skipping over that. And we're coming immediately over to this section right here with our 7 double crochets. So we're going to start right here in this first double crochet. We're going to work our first puff. So we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook. We're going to go into that first double crochet right there on the top of it and pull up a loop. And we're going to pull it up nice and tall. We're going to wrap our yarn again. We're going to insert back in that same exact stitch. Grab and pull up a loop, nice and tall. Total of 3 times. This is my 3rd time. So we're going to go in again, grabbing and pulling up a loop, nice and tall. We're going to check our count. With all the loops on the hook, we have 7, but we pulled up these 6 right here. Now I'm going to grab my yarn again. I'm going to turn down towards my project and pull through all those loops, leaving these last 2 on my hook. And I'm going to grab and pull through the last 2. And then you can kind of bring, I like to tug back on that working yarn to kind of tighten down that little single crochet, essentially, is what we just did there. So now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. We're going to skip the very next stitch. So here's our next stitch. We're going to skip that one and go here into the 3rd. We're going to wrap our yarn around our hook, go right here into this 3rd stitch, and we're going to pull up our loop. So that's once. Going to wrap. We're going to go in again, grab a loop, pull up. That's twice. We're going to wrap again, back into that same stitch, grab and pull up a loop. That's 3 times. Check your count. Got 7 little loops on your hook. You're going to grab your yarn and pull through all 6 of those loops, leaving just these 2 on your hook. Grab and pull through those 2, and then you can tug in the back here to tighten it down. Now we're going to chain 2 again. And we are going to be skipping this very next stitch. So we're skipping stitch number 4 and going into stitch number 5, if you were to count those out. So skip 1, go into the next, and we're going to repeat that again. We're going to pull up, total of 3 times. So wrap, go back in. This is my 2nd time. I'm going to grab and pull up a loop, nice and tall. And here's my 3rd time. I'm going to wrap, go back into that stitch, grab my yarn, and rock backwards to pull that up nice and tall. So check your counts. Got a total of 7 with everything that's on the hook. We're going to grab and pull through the first 6, leaving just these 2 on our hook. We're going to grab and pull through those. Now we are going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And we're going to go right here into that next stitch. We're going to skip that one and go right here into this last one. Sorry. So we're skipping the next, going into the last stitch number 7 in this section. So wrap our yarn, insert into that top of that last double crochet, pulling up a loop and pull it up nice and tall. I'm going to wrap again, go back down that same exact stitch a 2nd time, pulling up a loop. We're going to pull it up nice and tall. Going to wrap again, 3rd time, go back down into that stitch, grab and pull up. And I'm just going to rock back to pull it up nice and tall. Check your count. Got 7 loops on your hook. We're going to pull through that first 3. So I'm going to wrap my yarn, turn my hook down towards my project, and pull through those first 6, leaving just these last 2. Now we're going to grab our yarn and pull through those last 2. Pull back in on your working yarn. You can just pull back to tighten that all down. And that ends our repeat. So now you're going to begin that repeat again. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. Begins our repeat. We're skipping over all of this. Going to wrap our yarn. And we're going to go into that very first stitch in this little section of our 7 double crochets. Go into that first one. And we are going to grab our yarn and pull up a loop nice and tall. That's number 1. We're going to do a total of 3 times. So we're going to wrap again. Go back down in that same stitch. Pull up a loop and pull it up nice and tall. So that's number 2. And here is number 3, doing the same exact thing, going in, pulling it up nice and tall, just rocking back on our crochet hook to make that height. So I'm going to check my count, total of 7 loops on my hook. The 3 we pulled up, the 3 times we pulled up created these 6 loops. And this one right here was already on our hook. So now we're going to wrap our yarn, turn our hook down towards our project. And we're just going to gently pull through all 6 of those loops. All 6 of them. Now we've got these last 2. We're going to grab and pull through those last 2. Going to chain 2 again. We're going to skip the next stitch and go into that very next one. So you're only skipping 1. Skipping 1 stitch in between each of these puffs. All right, so we have skipped this very next stitch. We're going here into the third, grabbing and pulling up, just rocking back to pull it up nice and tall. Gonna insert again, pull up a loop, and rock backwards to pull it up nice and tall. And do that a total of 3 times on each of your puffs. I'm sure you're getting the hang of it by now. So we're going to grab and pull through the first 6 loops, and then grab and pull through the last 2 that are left. Chain 2 in between each puff, skip the next stitch, go in here to what's going to be our 5th stitch. If you're counting your stitches out in your row, we're going to grab and pull up a loop. We're going to wrap again, go back down that same exact stitch, and grab and pull up a loop. We're going to wrap again. We're going to go back down that same exact stitch, grabbing and pulling up a loop. Pull it up nice and tall by rocking back. Grab and pull through those 6 loops. Grab and pull through the last 2. Chain 2 again, 1 and 2. And we're going to go right here, skip this very next stitch and go into the last one in this section. Wrap our yarn around our hook, insert into the top of that double crochet, pulling up a loop nice and tall. We're going to wrap our yarn around our hook, insert into that same exact stitch, pulling up a loop, and we're going to pull it up nice and tall. Wrap one more time, go back down in that same exact stitch, pull up that loop, just pull it up nice and tall. Now we're going to grab and pull through all 6 of those loops, leaving us just these 2 left. Grab and pull through those last 2. I'll let this one get kind of wonky, huh? This is what your stitches are going to be looking like. So that's the end of the repeat. So you're going to continue on from here, chaining 2 in between. So you're going to chain 2 in between every single puff, no matter where you're at on this row. It's all the same. You chain 2 in between your puffs. It's just right here. We're going to be skipping over this chain 2, single crochet, chain 2 in between the 2 sections. So you're going to go ahead and work in the same exact manner all the way down the rest of your row. We will meet back up and complete the end of your row together. All right, so we're meeting up here at the end of your row, and we are going to go ahead. We have our chain 2 already on our hook. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. We've got we've wrapped our yarn around our hook. We're skipping over all of this right here and coming into this very first double crochet. We're going to insert our hook, grab and pull up our loop nice and tall. We are going to wrap again. Do the same thing. We're doing our puff just like before. There's time number 2. And here is number 3. Now we're going to grab our yarn and pull through those first 6. Grab and pull through the last 2. Tug in the back to tighten it down. We're going to chain 2. We are going to skip this very next stitch and go right here into the third and do our next puff. So same thing that we've been doing. Think by this point you probably got a really good handle on how to do these puffs. So now we're going to go ahead and chain. After we've finished, we're going to chain 2. And in this, we're now at the point where we're at our chain that began this row. So we're going to count up 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to do a double crochet right there in the top of that third stitch up from the bottom. So you're just going to do a chain 2 and a double crochet to end out that row. And that way we keep a nice straight side. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to video number 2 to move up for these additional rows. I'm going to try to keep these tutorials under 40 minutes so I can hopefully get them uploaded in a decent time. I am currently at my property and very, 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 very slow internet uploads. So I'm not at the office where I can upload quicker on my breaks and stuff. So please bear with me. I am going to have to break this up into multiple tutorials. That's the way we don't have to wait 12 hours for one to upload. So you will be moving on to part 2 from here, and I will make sure that's all on the screen and linked below.